right, so welcome back to Yaffee Live here on the Talk Monster, Talk Radio 102.3. Glad you have joined the show today. We've been, kind of recapping the Tennessee legislative session, the first part in 2025. The next part will be in 2026. Been asking different pundits, different lawmakers, not only to recap it, but to kind of give a letter grade, what they think they were able to accomplish. So we're going to do that right now with Adelia Kirchner. She is a reporter for the Tennessee Conservative, which you can read her stuff at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Adelia, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Hi, Michael. Thank you for having me on.
All right.
You really want that letter grade out of us, huh?
Yes, I do. You should have known that was coming. Do you have a? Do you have one? What do you think of the session?
I don't know. It might have to go somewhere in the middle. Maybe
Okay.
We'll go with a C. Maybe. The way I look at it is over at the Tennessee Conservative, we at the beginning of session, as bills are being filed, we kind of put together a little list of bills that we think that our subscribers, the people who are conservative and live in Tennessee, we think that they'll be interested in us tracking throughout the session. And we'll just put it this way. I think out of that list of bills that we tracked as conservative, about half of those bills or twice the amount of bills that passed got killed. So we got about 1/3 of those conservative bills through. So, and it's not for lack of trying on behalf of our conservative lawmakers, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know that some of the leaders, even though they say they're conservative, kind of that's what happens. A lot of that stuff gets killed in committee, or they don't bring it up, and all that stuff. Now, you were pretty much the Tennessee Conservatives reporter in Nashville throughout the session. You were at the State House and everything else. Am I right? This is kind of the first time you've done that?
Yes, it is the first time that I've done it. It's the first time that our publication has been able to do it. So we definitely appreciate everybody who contributed in order for that to happen. It was certainly an experience. I will give it that much.
I mean, anything kind of surprise you about it?
I don't know if anything necessarily was like shocking, but I guess I did not expect some lawmakers up there to so vehemently hate our publication.
Oh, okay.
So it was a very interesting first few weeks up there, kind of gauging who had negative feelings towards me simply based on the publication that I write for. But, and of course we do get online and we call people rhinos, and, I can see how that would get some people to view us negatively. But a lot of the times these folks were in leadership, and these folks, kind of deserved it in a sense. Not necessarily. I'm just saying, people calling you out, a small publication calling you out, does it really mean you can't talk to them? I mean, if you have something to defend, why not defend it? That was kind of my perspective. I thought that these folks would be willing to talk to us with me being up there in Nashville, and a lot of them still weren't.
Okay, and I know there was a whole issue where the Speaker of the House would not let conservative publications kind of in the press briefings. Were you eventually able to get into some of those press briefings?
Yeah, so a lot of that had to do with Cameron Sexton's press conferences that he personally does. And so I was not able to get into Cameron Sexton's press conferences because I was not part of the official press pool. I was not allowed to be, because I believe in their words, we were a biased publication, and we have chosen to endorse candidates in the past. And the way that I view it, I've said this multiple times, is at least we're honest about our bias.
Right.
I think that's the only difference between us and most of those folks in the press pool.
Yeah, I have that same issue here sometimes on the radio, because people are like, "Oh, you're so biased," and I'm like, everyone's biased. I'm just honest about it. A lot of these places that you say are neutral, they're not neutral. They're just not honest about their biases. At least with me, exactly. We're honest. I'm coming from a particular point of view, and I'm giving you an analysis and opinion as well as the news. And that's kind of what you guys do.
Yes, exactly.
So, you were talking about some of the bills that didn't make it through. Are there any in particular you want to highlight that you kind of wished would have passed?
I don't know. I mean, I was kind of more focused on like the highlights. I was really excited to see that Senate Bill 27 that Senator Pody brought, that passed. That was to limit the governor's emergency powers. And one of my key issues, one of the issues that got me into politics to begin with, really, as an adult, was COVID. And I feel like that's the case for a lot of people. And in Tennessee, there were some things that happened that shouldn't have happened that kind of trampled people's constitutional rights. Churches should have never been shut down the way they were, and so this bill was brought to kind of reiterate something that is already in the governor's oath of office, the lawmaker's oath of office, and that is that they are to uphold the Constitution, the Tennessee Constitution and the U.S. Constitution. And so that was originally carried by Mark Pody and Representative Jody Barrett, but, there was a bit of political blackballing that went on this year, so the sponsor got changed to Rusty Grills in the House, but that did finally make it through. It was a major success. Actually had one of the folks who contributed to authoring that bill reach out to me when it passed, I think, in the Senate, and they were like, you should title the article Randy McNally votes against his oath of office, because that's really what it was if somebody voted against this bill. And you know what? I titled it exactly that. I was like, because it is funny, but also, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, and did the governor, was that one that the governor wasn't going to sign?
Yes, that is one that the governor chose not to sign. And his reasoning was something along the lines of, well, that inhibits the governor's ability and the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency's ability to properly handle emergencies. And then later on in his letter saying he wouldn't sign it, he goes on to say, it also just reiterates something that's already in the oath of office. And it's like, well, if it's just reiterating something that is already established, how does it prevent you from properly handling an emergency?
Yeah, I mean, those two statements, you're right, are very contradictory. You can't say it gets in the way of an emergency, but then say it reiterates it. It's like, well, then you shouldn't be doing it anyway. That's an excellent point. I'm speaking with Adelia Kirchner. She is a reporter for the Tennessee Conservative. She was the on-site reporter during the General Assembly in the 2025 session, reporting right there from the State House. Now, one of the big issues, I'm sure you saw a lot of back and forth on this, was something that didn't end up making it through. Now, I spoke recently with State Representative Gino Bolso, and he thinks there's a good chance it'll make it through next year in the House. I mean, we'll have to see. But it was a bill that would charge illegal immigrants and parents of illegal immigrant children tuition in order to be a part of a public school. Now, originally it was going to force school boards to do it. Then they kind of watered it down. It would just give school boards the choice to do it. But it didn't end up making it through the House. But I'm sure you saw a lot of the back and forth on that.
Oh, yes. This was one of the big deal bills this year. There was protest after protest after protest, folks coming up to the Capitol. And pretty much as if this bill was the end of the world and was going to, be the death of illegal immigrants everywhere. And I kind of questioned all these protests because a lot of folks came up. A lot of them were non-English speaking. A lot of them seemed to have been brought up there by different organizations. And my question was, are any of these folks illegal? Because if so, aren't you putting them in danger hypothetically, like based on your premise, by bringing them up to the state capitol? Aren't you putting them in danger? And then if they're not illegal, why is this the end of their world? So I felt like there was a lot of information being spread about that legislation on the left side of things that was probably inaccurate, and it was getting people to be very emotionally invested on that side. And then on the other hand, you had a lot of people who were really happy to see this bill come up and were like, this is going to demagnetize our state. And I understand where those folks are coming from, but honestly, from the get-go, I never expected this bill to actually go through.
Oh, really? You were pretty skeptical it would make it.
Yes, and the reason is because, you can't, when it was going to force people to do it, I was like, well, that conflicts with a previous court precedent that says that the states have to provide a free public education to illegal immigrant students. And so that was a big part of the conversation was, well, what are we going to do with that? And so then it became, well, we'll make it optional. And the goal with this legislation will be that it's going to get challenged in court, and maybe we can overturn that court precedent so that we can, in the future, charge tuition and refuse to enroll illegal students. And so it turned into this whole thing of, we want it to get challenged in the courts. And, when you want something to get challenged in the courts, that costs money. Legal battles cost money. And so to me, I was like, I just don't see it going through with the giant fiscal note that's going to be attached to it. And because it was brought by folks, in leadership, and it was supported by leadership, it may very well have a surviving chance next year, maybe once they make more room in the budget or something. But I didn't really expect it to go through this year.
Well, I know they were worried, too, that I guess the federal government might go after them, cut some funding because it would be ruled unconstitutional or something like that. So they wanted reassurance from the Trump administration. They sent them a letter, but they kind of sent it late, so there wasn't really enough time to get it done. I felt it sounded kind of like a cop-out to me when I heard that. Like, I was like, do they really honestly expect Trump to do something on that? I seriously doubt it. But you're right. It just seemed like that was never going to make it through. But they did end up passing some bills, right, dealing with illegal immigration?
Yes, they did. And it kind of started with the special legislative session that they decided to hold like right at the start of the regular legislative session. Right. They passed this big illegal immigration omnibus bill, which just had a bunch of different stuff in it. But then there were still several illegal immigration bills up during the rest of regular session. And one of those that I like in particular was Senate Bill, I believe it was 392. Senator Brent Taylor and Representative Chris Todd brought that one. And that had to do with creating the offense of human smuggling. And the way that works, the way that it was intended to work is that it criminalizes the activity of businesses and nonprofits leading up to human trafficking, like the offense of human trafficking. So it's pretty much making it to where the actions of a business or a nonprofit organization that is transporting or harboring or hiding pretty much illegal immigrants in the state of Tennessee, it makes it to where as soon as you start making money off of harboring or hiding those illegals, if it's for commercial purposes, it's criminal. It's criminalized, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Attorney General can come after you.
Very interesting. Adelia Kirchner, she is with the Tennessee Conservative. She was their reporter reporting from the State House during the legislative session. Really, the Tennessee Conservative just does great work when it comes to what's going on in Tennessee politics. Adelia, really appreciate you coming on the show. As always, I know we'll talk to you again in the future.
Yes, thank you for having me.